At 55 years old, I believed one dream would never come true. I had carried it quietly for more than 30 years. Then one afternoon, my granddaughter asked me a simple question that changed everything. "Grandma, what was your favorite thing about college?" I smiled, then admitted I had never finished. What she said next became the beginning of a brand new chapter in my life.
Welcome back to God Showed Up Stories. Sometimes life asks us to put our dreams on hold. We become parents. We care for our families. We work long hours. We help aging parents. We do everything we can to make sure the people we love have what they need. And somewhere along the way, our own dreams quietly get pushed to the side. Not because they stopped mattering, but because someone else needed us first. Years pass, sometimes decades. We begin telling ourselves it's too late. Too much time has passed. We're too old. Too far behind. But what if the dream God placed on your heart was never forgotten? What if it was simply waiting for the right season? Maybe you've been carrying a dream that feels impossible now. Maybe you've convinced yourself that opportunity has passed you by. If so, this story is for you. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who may need encouragement today. And comment below. It's never too late. Never forget this. A dream delayed is not always a dream denied. Sometimes God's timing is preparing you for the moment you were always meant to begin. All right, let's get into the story.
When I was 19 years old, I believed I knew exactly what my future would look like. I had just finished my first year of college. I loved learning. Every new class made me more excited about the future. I dreamed of earning my degree, finding meaningful work, building a life that made my family proud. Then everything changed. I found out I was pregnant. Suddenly, my plans looked very different. Leaving school wasn't an easy decision, but at the time, it felt like the right one. I chose my family. And if I'm being honest, I never regretted that choice. My children became the greatest blessing of my life. Still, every now and then, I wondered what might have happened if I had finished. Life became busy. There were diapers, school lunches, doctor appointments, soccer games, late-night homework. Then there were bills, long work days, second jobs, unexpected expenses. Just when life seemed to settle down, my parents began needing help. I gladly cared for them too. Every season brought new responsibilities. And every time I thought about going back to school, something else needed me first. Eventually, I stopped mentioning it. The dream became something I quietly carried in my heart, almost like an old photograph, tucked away in a drawer, never forgotten, just rarely seen. Then, one Saturday afternoon, my granddaughter Emily came over carrying a science project. "Grandma, can you help me?" We spent nearly 2 hours working together at the kitchen table. We laughed, cut construction paper, looked through books. By the time we finished, she looked at me with a huge smile. "You know so much." I laughed. "I've learned a few things over the years." Then she asked a question I wasn't expecting. "What was your favorite thing about college?" For a moment, I couldn't answer. Finally, I smiled softly. I never got to finish. She looked confused. "Why not?" I explained that I left school when I became pregnant with her mom. She quietly listened. Then, without even thinking, she said, "You still can." I laughed. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm 55. She shrugged, as if my answer made no sense at all. "So? You always tell me it's never too late to learn something." Her words caught me completely off guard. Children have a way of seeing possibilities adults often miss. That evening, I couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. You still can. Over the next few weeks, the thought refused to leave me. One afternoon, I drove past the local community college. Without planning to, I pulled into the parking lot. I sat there staring at the campus. Students hurried between buildings. Some looked barely older than teenagers. Others were adults, balancing backpacks with cups of coffee. I wondered if someone my age really belonged there. Before I could talk myself out of it, I walked inside the admissions office. The woman behind the desk smiled warmly. "How can I help you?" I hesitated, then quietly said, "I think I'd like to finish something I started a very long time ago." A few weeks later, I officially enrolled in evening classes. The night of my first class, I almost turned around 3 different times. Standing outside the classroom door, I suddenly felt 19 again. Except this time, I was old enough to be the mother or even grandmother of many of the students walking past me. My hands trembled as I reached for the door handle. What if I don't belong here? What if I can't keep up? What if everyone thinks I'm too old? I almost left. Then I remembered Emily's smile. "You still can." I took one deep breath, opened the classroom door, and stepped inside. I had no idea that one ordinary evening would introduce me to someone God had quietly placed in my path, someone whose words would change the way I saw the rest of my life. I slowly took my seat near the back of the classroom. Students chatted with one another while opening laptops and notebooks. For a moment, I wondered if I had made a terrible mistake. I looked around the room. Most of the students were younger than my own children. I suddenly felt completely out of place. When the professor walked in, the room grew quiet. He appeared to be in his 70s. His silver hair and gentle smile immediately put everyone at ease. After introducing himself, he shared something unexpected. "I actually retired 5 years ago." A few students looked surprised. He smiled, "But God wasn't finished giving me opportunities to teach." Those words stayed with me. Over the following weeks, I worked harder than I had in years. Every assignment took longer than I expected. Technology wasn't always easy. Sometimes I stayed up late studying after everyone else had gone to bed. There were evenings when I questioned whether I had made the right decision. One night, after class, I remained behind to organize my notes. The professor noticed. He walked over with a warm smile. "How are you really doing?" I hesitated. Then the truth came pouring out. "I'm scared. I feel like everyone else belongs here except me. I worry I'm too old. I worry I'm not smart enough anymore." He nodded thoughtfully. Then he pulled up a chair beside me. "You know," he said quietly, "when I retired, people kept asking me what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I thought my most meaningful years were behind me." He smiled. "But I discovered something. Purpose doesn't retire." His words made me smile. He continued, "I've taught thousands of students. Some were 18, some were 80, and I've learned something about dreams. They don't expire simply because birthdays keep coming." He paused before adding, "The only dream that's truly impossible is the one we convince ourselves is too late." I felt tears welling in my eyes. For more than 30 years, I had been telling myself that exact lie. Before leaving, he said something I'll never forget. "Don't measure yourself against the youngest person in the room. Measure yourself against the person you were yesterday." Week after week, I kept showing up. One class became 2. 2 classes became another semester. Slowly, my confidence began replacing my fear. The younger students started asking me for advice about life. Some even called me their class mom. Instead of feeling out of place, I finally felt like I belonged. At home, my family became my biggest cheerleaders. My children called after every exam. My grandchildren made colorful drawings that said, "Go, Grandma." Those little notes found their way onto my refrigerator. Whenever I felt discouraged, they reminded me why I had started. Years passed one semester at a time. Then graduation day finally arrived. As I walked across the stage wearing my cap and gown, I searched the audience. There they were. My husband, my children, my grandchildren. Every one of them stood cheering with tears in their eyes. When I accepted my diploma, I looked up for just a moment and quietly whispered, Thank you, Lord. Not because earning the degree erased the years I had waited, but because He had shown me that waiting didn't mean the dream had died. After the ceremony, Emily wrapped her arms around me. She smiled the same way she had years before. I told you that you still could. I laughed through my tears. Yes, you did. Looking back now, I don't believe God showed up through a dramatic miracle. I believe He showed up through the innocent words of a granddaughter, through the wisdom of a professor who understood that purpose has no age limit, through the unwavering support of my family, and through the quiet courage to keep taking one more step when fear told me to quit. Today, I encourage anyone who believes they've waited too long. Don't let the calendar decide what God can still do in your life, because dreams placed in your heart by God don't come with expiration dates. Sometimes they simply wait until you're ready to believe in them again. And sometimes God shows up by reminding us that the best chapters of our lives may still be waiting to be written.
If this story touched your heart, comment below. It's never too late. Maybe there's a dream you've quietly carried for years. Maybe life required you to put it on hold. If that's you, remember this. A delayed dream is not a forgotten dream. God's timing is often different from ours. He can open new doors at any stage of life. If this story encouraged you, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment below, subscribe to God Showed Up Stories. Share this story with someone who needs hope and encouragement today. Thank you for spending this time with us. And always remember, God always shows up right on time.